Welcome to today's intelligent brief entitled Prophetic Addresses the Usurpation of Authority, the Loss of Authority over Us. Now, how do I encapsulate this quickly? The Federalist Papers is a constitutional document that basically gives the three playing rules of the Constitution. One, the first rule is that the majority rules. The second rule is that the majority takes care of the minority. And the third rule is that if the majority does anything to inhibit the minority from becoming the majority, then the minority is not under the majority's rule. And then the first thing that the Congress did, the first two things that the Congress did was basically state the manifest destiny, saying that America was a white nation, and then restricted immigration of African nations, African immigrations, which literally was the first inhibition that literally called the game foul, which means that and it has continued to have occurred countless times and even to this moment. So the problem has been is that the people have not responded correctly to the government's usurpation or loss of power. And so the government keeps acting as if they have the power when in fact they've usurped it. They lost it. And they lost it when they were unequal in their treatment, when they did anything and everything to inhibit you from becoming the majority. Like, for example, gerrymandering and how the districts all over America is set up, the voting districts all over America is set up. It's not set up for fairness, and so therefore it inhibits the minority from becoming the majority. So right there again is an example of how they have violated and usurped their ability, their powers. And then when you look at some of the college studies that shows that even if 100% of a voting public wanted a thing, they only have a 30% chance of it getting done, when in the reverse is true for corporations. If they want something done, even though the majority doesn't want it done, it gets done, which shows that your voting systems are inherently fraud and foul. In Georgia, let's say compare Georgia to Ohio. Ohio has public initiatives, which means that if the selected officials don't do right by you, the public can raise up referendums and pass initiatives and literally carry it into law and into enforcement. Well, in Georgia, there's no such thing. I contacted the Secretary of State. Some old dude said, "Well, if you don't get what if they don't do what they're supposed to do, you just you get rid of them and you elect new ones." I said, "No, that does not work, because they get corrupted. The process is a corrupting process." So in every element, in every way that you can possibly look at, they have inhibited and attempt, even presently, they set up all kinds of ways to inhibit you. There's really no need to go into a case by case, because prejudice is presumed. And, the law says that prejudice is presumed where there's a conflict of interest. And you don't need a hearing on the matter, because it's so evident that you can't serve two masters. Now, if you can't serve two masters, what if they're trying to make you serve three or four? It just won't work. So they have usurped their ability to rule over you, but you have to begin to exercise the power now. It's not, the old thing was rioting, but the new thing is informing the government that they're foul, letting them know that we're not under your rule because of those things, and that we're not abiding by them because you've lost your authority, you lost your jurisdiction. And all over the nation, that is the case. A matter of fact, they've literally weaponized the whole judiciary. You know, I don't know if you were able to see what I shot at in Clayton County, where one judge family owns the property that the courthouse is built on, and one of the main judges in the family said he was going to give a million years to people before he even read the case. He ran on, I'm going to give a million years, bragged on it, and then celebrated when he had given 1 million years. So that's a conflict of interest, because you can't correctly preside over a case if you've already going into it thinking, I'm trying to get up to 1 million years. Who's next? Corrupt system to the core. And then you look at the Supreme Court, judicial system is no better and is even worse. Still has the worst case judicial Supreme Court ruling known in history. That's the Dred Scott case, which they say that a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect, and that's still, and then Plessy versus Ferguson is still on the books, still can be quoted and used against you. Okay. Then you have like the Clarence Thomases. Now, Clarence Thomas recently ruled against the case of a man who was he was tried, but the public defender did not present information that would exonerate or cause his innocence, to exonerate him. He failed to present the information. Now, what the heck was he doing? But he failed to present it. It's because public pretenders are not real public defenders. They're pretending because their caseloads are too heavy. They don't have the support network like investigators and stuff like that. So they're just pretending. And so, but they found evidence that would exonerate him, took it to the Supreme Court to get the man off death row. And Clarence Thomas voted against it, saying, yeah, it's been ruled on, deal with it. So there's information that will exonerate an innocent man, and you basically say kill him anyway. And while your wife was the one who funded busloads of people to the January 6th insurrection, and while you're not doing the tax thing like you should, no. You see, there is so much corruption in all the judiciary. Did I miss any? Yes, the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Now, you may remember when baby Bush was afoot doing all these crimes, they wanted to indict Bush. And so Bush sent, I think, Condoleezza Rice and the State Department to basically say that if you indict Bush, we will declare war on the whole world. So they backed off. Now, recently, the criminal court wanted to indict some other people, military officers and stuff like that, for war crimes from the U.S. And again, this time they were even more harsher. The U.S. said, if you try to indict us, we will kill your judges. This is what the U.S. said. We will kill your judges. That's what they said. I find that very interesting, that then after that, they didn't indict the U.S., but then started indicting all of the African leaders that they could find, and Russia, Putin. They tried to indict Putin. Now, South Africa did something very brilliant. They said, well, then, if you're trying to indict, because South Africa said, well, if you're trying to indict Putin and he's coming to us, and that means we have a responsibility to arrest him, then we don't want to be a part of this international criminal court, because really it's an international criminal clannish cunt. Because if you don't have the courage to do what's necessary, and you let a terrorist punk you down, then you have lost what? Objectivity. You now have a conflict of interest, a death sentence over your head if you do it. So now the International Criminal Court has lost its standing, and all nations jump off the International Criminal Court because they're too afraid to attack the real culprit. So all they can do is attack the victims, like Malcolm said. When you fail to include the arch enemy, then the victim will be blamed as the culprit. So this is the sadness that has. This is my prophetic challenge to the judiciary, all the way from the local to the top, from the top to the bottom. They've usurped their ability. They've lost their authority over you because of their mistreatment and fear of those that they need to have justice delivered upon. That's my comment. What's yours? Now remember, in times of crisis, the truth teller is the standard bearer. That's the person that you grab hold to and understand that they're feeding you the type of intelligence that can save your life. So we thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned.